Welcome back to The Person Everyone Needs. I'm your host, Webb Hoggard. I've been over the last few weeks having to do these, one at a time, really close to the time because my voice hasn't been holding up. So if my voice sounds weak to you, I apologize about that. But I should be back to 100% soon. And we're going to look at a new format, perhaps going to video podcasting here very soon. But the past week has been a remarkable one. I have been very open and honest about being a Washington fan, and I'm actually getting to the point now where I'm ready to start calling us the Commanders because we're winning. I'm just going to tell you right now, if the issue, your organization or your family or anything, a lot of times that you can fall into unhealthy practices because there are not wins. You're not winning. And so the momentum that takes place when you start winning can change your perspective on even things like, been a long-time Redskins fan, but I'm telling you what, we made it to the NFC Championship, and I'm about ready to forget all that name stuff, and we're going to be the Commanders from now on. Also, yesterday was Inauguration Day. I don't know how you feel, and it's, we can completely disagree on political things, but yesterday was a very hopeful day in my mind for America's future. I think there's going to be a lot of good things that come from this major change that's taking place. And this being Trump's second term, he was not mincing words in his inauguration, and he was very clear about the direction that he was going to go and what he was trying to leave in the past, which brought up some thoughts in my mind as I was considering what to say today. Because what I wanted to say today was, how do you win gracefully? I just got to be honest with you. I don't know. Because I've rooted for Washington my whole life. The closest I've ever come was like when I used to root for the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan was that guy. But everybody was kind of on Michael's side there, and it wasn't like there was a tremendous amount of people against us. But since the Washington team has won, I mean, Dallas had a great run. The Giants have won a couple of Super Bowls, and the Eagles, I think, have won a couple. It's just really, it's been a long time since so I don't even know how to win. That's the point I'm trying to make. What do you do when your team is winning? How do you act? Because when we look at guys on these ball teams, and I guess the really important thing when I look at these ball teams, I watch these guys and I'm like, I know in my heart of hearts, like I've contributed absolutely nothing to these wins, but my superstition thinks that there does matter. So there's times where I'll watch a game and we start to lose, and so I'll come up with the superstition that if I don't watch, maybe we'll win. But when you're rooting for a bad team, it don't matter if you're watching or not. In fact, it doesn't matter anyway. As we have seen with the effect of Washington, it has a lot more to do with those that are in the office or even those that are in the practice rooms, the coaching and all that. They hold a huge amount of importance. And here, as a lowly fan who's only been to 2 Washington games in his entire life in person, I don't think that I have affected the team one way or the other very much at all, but I live and die on it like I do matter. Here's another area. So the first time Trump wins the presidential election, I voted for him. I like Trump, but I was really hoping that it would have been the guy Ted Cruz down in Texas, and so there was a little piece of me that was like, well, I didn't quite get my guy. And then when 2020 came around, I was sold on Trump's economic plan, but then I lost that one. So here we go. We win another one, and I'm expecting this very unifying thing, and there's no need. Because the truth is the nation has spoken on who they want to be in the leadership, but I was hoping for a more humble response, and that's what we're looking for in sports. We want a guy that's like, I just want to thank the team, and I want to thank Jesus. We love it when the guys say, I want to thank God, and okay, so what's the point? Well, how do you win? Look, I've had nothing. I really only had one vote. I don't know if you know that or not, but I only had like one vote among the millions toward the political thing. I'm only one fan among the thousands who like the Redskins, Washington's team. The truth is, how about winning in life? When you start to win in life, how are you able to do that right? What is the person that everyone needs? How do they carry themselves when they start to win in life? So most of us don't really ever think that we are winning. We think that we're so far behind, or that there's not much we can do to be a part of that. But here's what my thought is to you: if you will create a plan for yourself and begin to work that plan, over time you're going to create momentum, and when you do that, you're going to start gobbling up wins. If you'll just focus on one thing at the time, you'll start noticing that you are accomplishing things that you are hoping to, and it's a powerful thing. But there are going to be people in your life that don't want to see you win. They don't want to see you succeed. Now, they don't mind an underdog succeeding, but just look at the hatred over Kansas City. Every single game, somebody's whining about the fact that the referees are giving them calls. And I have to be honest with you, this past week, I definitely saw some calls that are at least questionable in their direction. But there's always questionable calls, and it's not ever the idea that the NFL is trying to help other teams. I mean, there was a bad call. There was a face mask in the Washington game that got missed, and I wasn't like, oh, well, they're trying to help the Lions get there. That didn't even cross my mind. What happens is when you begin to win, people begin to believe the system favors you. And that favoritism becomes an easy target for those who the system doesn't favor to focus on. So there becomes hatred, there becomes frustration. Everybody begins to point at the winners instead of pointing at their own goals. Those that are in sibling rivalries, those that are in rivalries with the competing other business across the street or down the street. One thing I've paid more attention this year to the NFL than usual, and I've noticed that there are teams that if they've won for a few years, like my wife is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, they've won for several years. They've gone to the playoffs for like years and years and years. And yet this year they didn't win. And so some people are calling for the coach to be fired. And I'm like, man, what I would have given to be going to the playoffs over the last decade. Yet your expectations change. And so when you can't constantly up what you did last year, then some people are calling for your job. The issue, especially in the NFL, is that there can only be one champion each year. There's 32 teams, and there can only be one champion. And so you're going to fail if you're not the one out of the 32, which has so many other factors. Okay, maybe you're tired of me talking about football, so let me talk about real life. So some of you, and right now, you are focused on these other people in your life that seem to be making it. Maybe they're making it financially, or maybe they're able to take vacations. They have more time on their hands than you get to, or maybe their family situations are in a better place than yours. And so you feel a little embarrassed, or you're constantly wishing. There's always something that you're wishing you could have, but it's not quite yours. And I'm just going to tell you, as long as you compete, as long as you are comparing and competing with other people, you're going to have a hard time finding a lot of contentment. So you got a choice. You can either compare or you can be content. And when you become content with what you have, then you can start making what you have better. The problem with that is eventually, once you get to a certain level of better, someone is going to be offended that you've made it to a better place. So how do we live when we begin to win? Now, this is a very short amount of time that I've got, right? Washington, for the first time in my entire life, is winning a little bit. The tone that is made by political people when they're making differences and changes and that kind of thing may not match the tone. But what does it look like in real life when you need to look? So the first thing you need to do is, maybe a lot of times we just need to be quiet. I know what a lot of people do in their lives is that they almost don't do anything without publicizing it through social media. That's a great thing. You should talk about the wins in your life, the things that matter, but also understand that somebody is going to see that positivity and they're going to take it negative no matter what. So I'm not saying that we should live in hiding by any means, but sometimes the best thing to do is to just not say anything, to enjoy it privately without making it a big deal. The second thing you can do is to make sure you're giving proper honor to others. Why do all these ball players and even actors and actresses that are living lives that are godless, why do they always say, I want to thank God? Because it's a good thing to give credit to someone else, to something else, to somewhere else when you're getting some attention, because that's what people who are jealous want to hear. So it's a good thing to do. Take the time. If you've made it somewhere, take the time to thank your parents, to thank your spouse, to thank your boss, to thank those around you. Thank the Lord. Tell Jesus thank you. Be very grateful for the things that you have and give away the credit. This is not only what decent people do, but this is also what great leaders do. So the first thing you need to do, maybe, for the most part, just keep things to yourself, be quiet. And then the second thing is, when it is time to speak, make sure you're humble. Give some credit away. And the third thing I would say when it comes to winning that we always want to see is a focus on using whatever influence or attention or whatever platform you've got to help others build theirs. So Detroit Lions lost this weekend, and honestly, I was rooting for Detroit until Washington found them their way there. But yesterday, the offensive and defensive coordinator immediately began to look for other head coaching jobs next season. And that means the whole band got broke up. It's really heartbreaking to watch this, but here's what happens when you begin to win. Everybody else on the platform also begins to win, and they become needed commodities. So if you're winning in life, do what you can to help build up somebody else's status. Give the attention to others around you. Let your team stay in front of you, because your success will beget success in other people's lives. And so this is how you win well. I know the years, if Washington wins again next year, we probably won't be able to keep the band together for very long as a whole. But the truth is, every time that someone rises to the top, those that are around that person becomes very successful in other areas. And that's what we need. We need people who can multiply successes through other people and not just for themselves. So if your platform is getting larger in these days, if your financial freedom is becoming greater, if your family is in a healthy spot, do what you can to spread those wonderful gifts to other people. The first thing is, when it comes to success, sometimes the best thing to do is just stay quiet. The second thing is to make sure that you're giving away credit to others. And then lastly, I would say, make sure that you're using whatever platform or whatever influence you have to build up other people. Because what I'm seeing, both in the football world, even the political world, and even in my own personal life, people who do those three things, that's the person that everyone needs.